Hi guys, in this one we are going to build this live search with the objects coming from our Django database. So let's try to put in test, and I have only one object that matches test. If I put something more, I will get no results found. If I put in, for example, I have I like Python, I like Tesla. This is all Django and JavaScript. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so as usual, let's take a look at what have I done so far. So basically I started a brand new project called Search Proj, and I also added one application called Infos. This Infos application has been added to the installed apps list, and I also told Django where to look for additional templates. So in the source directory, I created a folder called templates, and here I have my base HTML. I got this code from getbootstrap.com. I added some modifications for template inheritance. So we have block title, block content, and block scripts. I also added a wrapper, a div class container to have some spacing on the left and on the right. And inside I put it the block content. So this is our base HTML from which our main HTML inside the Infos application will inherit from. Then I also started a very simple model. I created a class info with two fields, the name and the description, and I added a string representation for the name. And I also registered this class inside the admin. So as you can see, I'm already logged in, and that means I created also a super user, and here is our Infos application, and soon we will be adding objects. And as the next step, let's go to the views, and over here we are going to do some imports. First of all, let's import from Django views generic the list view. So we will be using a class-based view, and from .models let's import our info model, and then let's define a class called maybe info a list view, which inherits from a list view. So let's specify the model, it will be info, and then below let's specify the template name, and let's set it to infos and then main HTML. Alright, so before we go any further, I'm going to save this, and inside the infos I'm going to put a folder called templates. Inside I'm going to put another one called infos, and inside I'm going to create this main HTML. So this main HTML will extend from base HTML, it will inherit from base HTML, and then let's specify the block title. Here I'm just going to put in home, block content, and block script. All right, so let's also save this. We will return to this template in just a second, but now let's go to the views, and over here I'm going to write down get context data, because we need to pass in the query set to our template. And with class-based view we are using this get context data method. So over here what I'm going to do is to define a query set. However, we have to do it a little bit different. So I'm just going to name this key as QS.json, and this is going to be, okay, I have to import JSON first. Import JSON, and now what I can do is to write down JSON dumps, and I'm going to put in a list of info objects values. Okay, so now we can actually go ahead and save this, and let's go to infos and let's add some objects. So I'm going to put in test info, test description, save and add another one, hello world, hello world, I like Python, Python is awesome, how are you, hope you are doing okay. And let's add maybe two more. JS is cool too. Yes, it is. And let's say I like Tesla. Tesla cars are awesome. All right, so now we have some objects. Maybe let's add another one. Basketball or football. I like sports. Just create any objects you like. All right, so the next step is to go back to the main HTML, and we are going to begin by picking up the data from the template. So inside the block scripts, we are going to create a constant, and this constant will be called data. And here we just need to refer to this queue as JSON. Okay, so we have if we take a look at our main our views py, here we are passing queue as JSON. So in the main HTML, let's pick it up and let's console log it. So let's console log the data. So there's one more thing we actually forgot to do, is to register our URLs, and I'm going to do it directly in the project folder. So I'm going to skip the step to create a URLs py file within our infos application. I'm going to do it directly over here. So from infos and views, we want to import, what was the name of the view? Info list view. Info list view. So let's define a path. It will be the main path, and over here info list view as view, and let's set the name as the main view. All right, so right now let's go ahead and open up this main view. So here we have a confirmation that the Django has been successfully installed. Let's refresh, nothing is here, but let's right click and inspect, and let's go to the console, and there it is. This is what we actually get. So if we look closely, we should actually see those objects. We have IDs, and we have over here hello world. So this is not exactly what we wanted to have. So as the next step, I'm going to head over to main HTML, and I'm going to do something with those data. So let's define a new constant, and maybe let's call it our data. And this is going to be JSON parse. And what we want to do is to get the data, and with the use of replace, we want to get rid of those quotes over here, those signs. Okay, so let's do it very quickly. Quote, and I forgot about the end at the beginning, and then we want to put in G and replace it, and now over here come the single quotes and one double quote. So actually let's console log how the our data look right now. So I'm going to save it, refresh, and there we are. So now we have nice looking data that we can work on. So as the next step, maybe we should work a little bit on our block contents, since we have already the data that are coming from our database inside the JavaScript. Let's actually create some input, and this input will have an ID of, maybe let's call it search here, and I'm also going to give it a class of form control, and I'm going to put in a placeholder that I'm going to name type here to search, something like this. Okay, so we have our input, and we also need a place where we are going to display the data. So I'm going to create a div, and I forgot about the closing, and let's put in a div with an ID of a box, and I'm going to close off this div. Maybe I'm going to indent this so it's a little bit more readable. And inside of this box, I'm going to put in the initial state. So initially, we will simply use a for loop to display all the objects. So initially, it will be for item in our object list. And this is by default in class-based view, in list view. Okay, so we have an object list, and over here what we can display is just an item, and let's put in a break line. All right, so let's save this and let's take a look at how this looks right now. Okay, so we have an input, and we have all these objects by string representation. Okay, so I'm going to do one more thing very quickly. I'm going to head over to the base HTML, and in this div I'm going to add a margin top 3, and it looks a little bit better. And maybe also inside the main HTML over here I'm going to add a margin bottom 3, and there we are. Okay, so this is something now that we can actually work on. So we can return to our JavaScript part, and let's grab our input. So I'm going to put in another constant, and I'm going to just call it input, and this is going to be document get element by ID, and we want to get this search here. Let's console log our input, save this, refresh, and document get element by ID. Okay, and there it is. So here we have our input. So this is working, and now let's also define another variable which will be an array. Let's call it filtered R, and initially it will be blank. Okay, it will be empty. So now what we can do is to refer to the input and add an event listener with an event on a key up. Okay, so it refers to the keyboard. When a key is up, something will be executed. Okay, so here I'm just going to put in an arrow function, and let's reset the box. So box inner HTML will be initially empty after a key up. Okay, so initially it's actually filled with objects from the database, but after putting a key up, it should be resetted to blank. So let's see if this is working. I'm going to hit refresh, and I'm going to type something, and there it is. So let's refresh it again. I have my key down, nothing is happening. I'm putting it up, and there it is. It's gone. Okay, the content is gone. So Now we can refer to the filtered array, and we need to actually check if the content that we are typing over here matches the item title. We will do it by the title. So I'm going to put in filtered array, and this is going to be equal our error data, and we want to apply a filter method on the error data where we are going to grab a single info object, and we are going to simply check if the things that we are typing, so here we have to pass in an event and target value. So we are checking if this target value, which is basically what we are typing, is included in every single object, and if it's included, it will be added to this filtered array. So right now what we can do maybe is to console log the filtered array. So let's see it. I'm going to refresh, and I'm going to put in test, and let's see, what do we have? Test info. We have a single object, and if we refresh, as you can see, only one object has test. So this is working. And as the next step, let's do an if statement where we are going to check if the filtered array length is greater than 0. And if this is the case, we are going to apply on the filtered array a map method where we are going to grab a single item, and we are going to refer to the box inner HTML again, and here we are going to add to our box all the objects that match this condition and are in our filtered array. So let's use backticks for this. I'm going to maybe add a bold font, and inside of this bolded font we are going to inject the item name. And since I'm using bold font over here, I'm going to use it also over here. Bold, and okay, let's also not forget about the break line. All right, so this is the case if there are any matches, if there are any items in our filtered array. And if this is not the case, so maybe actually I also can change info over here. So let's just have the same naming. And then in other case, what we want to do is also to refer to this box inner HTML, but this time let's display maybe also in bolded font something like no results found. Okay, so let's see if this is actually working. I'm going to save this, hit refresh. Here is bolded, and let's try to type something. So I'm going to put in hello world. Okay, this works. T. Okay, so we have T, E. So we have only test and Tesla, and test is only test info. I like Python, I like Tesla, and if I type something like this, we have no results found. So this is working. Of course, you can do more things over here. As a challenge, try to add hyperlinks. So try to add some kind of a link for these particular objects. You should create a detail view. So once you click on it, you will be taken to the detail page where you will see, for example, the description. So you can treat this as a challenge. But anyway, I'm going to finish off over here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you soon in some other pretty cool tutorials. Have a great day, take care, and bye-bye.